Welcome back. Do you ever feel like you're reading the same 5 books that everyone else is? Because I feel like that sometimes. But, sometimes that's okay because I just started my reading journey in October of 2024. So I have a lot of catching up to do. And I read a lot of books that a lot of people have already read and have a lot of hype. And then I read some other books that I find along the way. And so today I wanted to talk about finding books that are not trending, because I know that on Instagram or on TikTok, we see the same books over and over and over. And once you read them, you kind of don't want to see that anymore because you've read them already. So I wanted to talk about, and I have my notes, I wanted to talk about some of the ways that I find books that aren't like super popular or are trending on social media. So first off, my favorite way to find books like that, because a little side note, when I first started my reading journey last year, I was I was buying a lot of books that I didn't end up reading because I was going to a lot of bookstores, because that's what you see on social media. And I got kind of caught up in that. And I bought a lot of books that I didn't want to read or that I've just been putting off for a long time. And I didn't go like crazy like some people do on Instagram or on YouTube, where you see and they have like bookshelves and bookshelves. I don't have space for that. I don't have the money for that. So I quickly learned that I don't want to do that. And I also really like reading on my Kobo. And so I kind of prefer that now. I used to be the kind of person, like when I was younger, when I was reading books as a kid and as a teenager, I didn't want to get into the like e-reader world. I wanted to have a physical book, like smell the book, like have the book, feel the book. But now, because life is hectic and I work and, traveling and things like that, I want to be able to read wherever I am. And so my Kobo has really helped me do that. I have read it on airplanes, on buses, in between like appointments, and at work and at lunch. And so like it's just so much more convenient. And it allows me to only keep books that I really, really love or are very special to me on my actual bookshelf, which is here and is very tiny. So, all of that said, I really, though, miss going to bookstores and looking for books. So that is my first suggestion. Go to your local bookstores. I prefer going to like used bookstores or like thrift shops that have books in them, because you'll find random books instead of going to bookstores like Barnes and Noble or things like that, where you find all the popular books, because we're trying to find things that are more obscure. So I like walking around my local bookstore. There's one that I prefer, and it has a whole bunch of books, a lot of different selections, different genres and stuff. And I like walking through there, and I'll look for the book on Goodreads and I'll save it, and then I will like download it so I can read it on my Kobo. And sometimes I'll find books that I've read before that I really, really love and I want a physical copy of, so I buy it so that I'm actually supporting the bookstore, which is nice. Or if I really like one of those books that I read, then I go by and buy it. Then I go back and buy it. So yeah, going to your local bookstores. Number 2 is kind of like the same thing, but instead of a bookstore, just going to the library, just browse the books at the library, because there's a whole bunch of books at the library, and do the same thing. You can check them out if that's your thing, if you want a physical book, or you can buy them at the bookstore. But because I prefer reading on my Kobo, I just find the book, I save it on Goodreads, and then I download it to read on my Kobo. And, another thing that is very similar to that, which is just browsing through random books, but it's online. So I really like bookoutlet.com. I checked it the other day, they do have a lot of like more popular trending titles than they used to, at least now, but they do have random books. So you can browse through there, read the little synopsis or whatever, the description, see if it's your flavor, and then either buy it if you don't want to buy it, or download it on your e-reader. Thriftbooks.com is also really good, but I prefer bookoutlet.com. And then 2 more things. Witchbook.net I found out about recently, which was really cool. You can kind of browse, actually, I don't know if you would call it browsing, but you kind of like select like your mood, or like the like spice level, like different categories like that. And it kind of gives you just random suggestions that you can look into and see if that's something that interests you. And then the last one, which I really like, is going through the backlist of authors that you already love. Or maybe you just read a book by an author and it's a new author for you, and you're like, wow, this book was really, really good. Well, look at their backlist and, read some of those. That's something that I haven't done much of, but I do want to do. I have some authors on my list that I want to read their backlist. Off the top of my head, I can think of Liz Tumford. I know she's got I think it's called Becoming Selfish. I really don't know what it's about at all. I think it's a sports romance. like before she wrote the Windy City series. But I mean, I still want to read it. And I really loved Archer's Voice, and I know Mia Sheridan has a lot of books, so I want to read those. So yeah, that way you have an endless supply of books, and they're not the same 5 or 10 that are circling online that everyone's talking about. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. I read those books too because I'm interested in them, but sometimes I feel like it's like an echo chamber of the same thing over and over and over, and I want to get out of that. And that's how I do. And my very, very favorite, as I mentioned in the beginning, is going to my local bookstore. I get my little coffee and I have a little date with myself, and I go there, I browse the books. Sometimes I buy something, sometimes I don't, but I save a whole bunch of books that look interesting to me and I read them. So that is my number one suggestion. If you have any other suggestions or what you do in this case to find books that aren't trending, maybe you have some smaller creators that you follow that talk about books that are a little bit more obscure, not trending, harder to find or something like that, leave them down below. I would love to check them out. So yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye.